Well, hey, good morning. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, 30 plus year video game enthusiast, industry analyst. Today is Monday, March 24th, 2025. So we'll jump into the latest gaming news, what I've been playing. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Good to see Ultronimus and Jamkel X. Yeah, I had a pretty good weekend. Pretty good weekend. And I'll talk about some of the gaming I did. Here in a little bit. But yeah, it's Monday, so I don't really have any other commentary or narrative to go along with just another Monday. So yeah, let's just jump into the games that I've been playing. Okay, we'll start with Rise of the Ronin. I think the last I played that was Friday, right? That was the 21st. Yeah, and I'm pretty far in it. I played about 20 hours. There's probably another 10 hours of game, but I've stopped for now. And that's because I got Assassin's Creed, and I'm kind of deciding what do I want to spend more of my time with because they're so similar that it's kind of hard to play them both. And it's funny because Rise of the Ronin is really good, but I think I've gotten to the point to where it is super repetitive. The difference with Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed offers a lot of different gameplay mechanics throughout the world that are completely different from each other, whereas the Rise of the Ronin, you're doing the same thing. It really just is a glorified character-driven action or character action game in an open world, right? Because I was thinking when I jump into Rise of the Ronin, I'm just doing the rinse repeat. Okay, yeah, that next mission. Okay, yeah, that next mission. Which is fine. Like I'm not trying to downplay Rise of the Ronin, but I think I've gotten my fill for now, and I am getting more fun out of Assassin's Creed just because there is the fighting, but then there's whatever else I'm going to get myself into, which is a bunch of, and that's the thing. There are still those missions where it's just like go here, then go here, and it's really trying to open the map for you. So, and that's the thing. It's not like Assassin's Creed is an absolutely amazing game. It's really fun, and the graphics are amazing, actually. So, if I was going to say there's something amazing about Assassin's Creed, it would be the graphics just look so good. I'm actually surprised how well it runs on my computer. But then again, it's not Unreal Engine 5. It's using I think it's Anvil engine, maybe that's what it's called. But anyway, I'll get into more Assassin's Creed. Basically, Rise of the Ronin, for now, I'm going to take a break, but it's in an easy spot where I could pick it up and play it anytime. Because right now, it's just mission after mission until I'm done, pretty much. All right, played some It Takes Two. And oh, hey Chris, hey, good to see you. And again, going through it with my wife, and to me, if it was just a single player game, I wouldn't be playing it because the gameplay itself is it's creative, but it's basic, right? So I could see where having two people, then it is interesting. But for me, it's just super simple. It's just a way for me to play with a game with my wife that's more than just like a 2D game because she mainly plays 2D games if she plays it. And then Rendering Ranger R. So Rendering Ranger R2 is let me address this. A lot of people are salty over AC Shadows, but Chris, let me tell you what I think it is. All it is those people that are just complaining to complain. And I think we're always going to get that online. And I think what we've learned from this latest kind of grifter movement that's bubbled up since the DEI stuff, which I think there was valid complaints in that. But what happens is you get people that latch on incredibly to what's anything mad I can be at with this game or angry, and then I can talk about it online. So most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, it's just noise. Assassin's Creed has come out. It's super successful. People are having fun with it. Anyone still complaining is bored or I don't know. They have nothing better to do because it's a perfectly valid game. Now, there are some criticisms they have with it, but the saltiness, I guess, is what is the rage bait. Exactly. We just need to ignore them. I think the more we speak to them, we're giving them validity. And that's something I've learned a lot recently, not only with video games, but in like Gundam Explain servers, like there's people in other servers that are constantly causing drama. And I only hear about them because I'm being shown texts of like them talking shit about other people. And it's like, why are these people doing this behind the scenes still? It's crazy. And you just need to ignore that stuff. And even if it's like a friend of yours, you actually do need to put your foot down because you're not helping them if you're allowing them to continue to sort of be that. But let's get to Rendering Ranger R, shall we? So I played this a little bit. This just came out. It's a 1995 Super Nintendo game that only came out in Japan. They only made 10,000 copies, so it became really rare. So it's the first time that this is here in the US by being put on Steam and probably Switch and all that. And it is fun. It is super hard. I played on stream and then I played a little bit yesterday. So I've played only about an hour and 28 minutes. But it is hard. Just because you only have a fixed amount of lives and they didn't do like any, it's basically the game straight up. I think it does have some options like the rewind, save states, but I'm trying not to make use of all that. Right now I'm just using save states. Haven't used the rewind. I might need to do that if I really want to beat it, because that's the thing. Like, there's so many games in the 90s I never beat because they were like really hard. But there's a lot that I did then that I wouldn't now because I had the time then. There weren't that many games. I was willing to be like, well, I'll just play this level for the 8th time. Whereas nowadays it's like, well, I could jump into Assassin's Creed Shadows and then go to this castle and take out these people. You know, like you could easily get a brand new gameplay experience at will. But there is something to playing these old school games where you repeatedly play the levels over and over to memorize the stuff. So with Rendering Ranger R, and it's fun because it's like a shooter like Turrican more, but like Contra. More people are probably familiar with that. And then it has stages that are just like Thunder Force 3, a shmup. It is really, 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 really good. And if this came out wide release back when it did in 95, I think this would be known as one of the best 16-bit games. It's just crazy what they were able to do. And just how fun it feels and the leveling system and everything. It's impressive. And I think it's cheap too. Let me double check on here, but I think you can get it $8.99 right now on Steam. Like, how cheap is that? And I guess here's some video. It's called Rendering Ranger because when it was made in 1995, it was shortly after Donkey Kong Country came out, and it got morning sneeze. There we go. 808. Okay. No, but Donkey Kong Country got a lot of praise for the rendering graphics that it was using. And so they decided later in development to change the graphics to that. Hence the name Rendering Ranger. Crazy. Only 7 reviews on here. Maybe I need to I need to play a little bit more, but maybe that's why there's not that many reviews. I don't know who's actually beaten it. Let me see. They have 3 hours. They have 1 hour. Okay, 3 hours maybe could have beaten it. Oh, the guy has a full playthrough. So, okay. But 1 hour. Okay, 3 hours. Yeah, 1 hour, you're not going to beat it. Okay, so Super Divorce is the name of this YouTuber. That's a pretty incredible name. And he's just playing unique, what's this Phantom game? Wow. All right, I'm going to give this guy a follow. He plays some unique games that I could check out. Anyway, did he really beat it? Oh, he's rewinding, which there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to go and do. So I can actually beat the game, I will probably go through and do the rewind. So yeah, you can see he's doing that in the spots where I was just loading my save to start again at the beginning. That is hilarious. I might do that then. Hey, they added the feature. The game is hard. Okay, and then we'll just end with what I've been playing with Assassin's Creed Shadows. So How much time do I have? So it's interesting how it separates between Xbox and using the Ubisoft app. According to Xbox, I've played an hour and 34 minutes on an Xbox. I wonder if the Ubisoft. I'm pulling up my Ubisoft time here to see it. I wonder if it's all up. It probably is. It's a little slow. This Ubisoft app. Okay. 7 hours and 27 minutes. So I've played, 7 hours and 27 minutes of Assassin's Creed. And I would say what's been going on is I'm not using Yasuke as much as as much as I thought. In fact, I'm not given the option. But then I kind of don't mind. Like the beginning, I used him for a little bit, but I've been Naoe, the ninja, most of the time, and I just that is fun. The way she flips, like when you jump off things, she does these little flips, and how you move around in the world, and it's cool. There's things here that are happening that I wish they would fix. One would be the movement. The movement looks great, but I guess the controls of the movement is just kind of odd. How A is for parkouring. When you're near something, you can parkour. Otherwise, the button does nothing. B is a dash, but if you're parkouring, it's also so you can go down. And I feel like already we're having a button that does multiple things and then another button that only does things sometimes. And I feel like they could have used those two buttons to then kind of make things happen more often, if that makes sense. And I guess a lot of why I'm getting this is because, after playing Dragon's Dogma, which that was actually a year ago. Wow. Avowed, Rise of the Ronin. I feel like there are way better controls for traversal and exploring than what Assassin's Creed does. And it's also interesting how Assassin's Creed has the attack buttons of RT and RB, the right buttons and trigger, whereas like Avowed, it was left and right, and Rise of the Ronin is X and Y. So, you move to these different games that have these completely different controls, and sometimes you wonder, okay, does it make sense for the controls to be wherever? In Assassin's Creed, the idea to have the X or the right trigger, whatever, the buttons on the triggers is so your thumb is free to move around, but there's not much you have to do other than dodge, because then block is on the left. So I think it's odd for them to have to make it where they change to the Souls combat where the fighting is on the triggers when it's not needed. I feel like we would be better off with X and Y being the attack and then RB and the right trigger being functions that you could do, like throw quickly. Like right now, if I wanted to quickly throw a kunai or whatever, I have to hold down the left trigger and then press RB, I think. Whereas again, you're making the player press all these buttons to do all these things. Just maybe make it where it's right trigger or RB, or again, it's kind of pulling from Rise of the Ronin, and I actually have a video. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up. I made an old video complaining about Assassin's Creed controls. And let me see, like, if I can pull that up. Yeah, Assassin's Creed controls suck. Back when I was using that word. And I did 5 minutes. Now, I don't even remember exactly. Right, so I want to take this time to kind of change. Look at me. I don't have. Do I have no visual aids?
Just to walk from one building to another, okay? Because that's, I guess, what you want to do when you're trying to be stealthy. But you know what? Especially with how Assassin's Creed 4 was, you didn't need to do that too often. Because you'd be running from, like, place to place.
Okay, I that's very funny. I kind of, like, went in. 28 comments. Well, that must have been an interesting topic. So I kind of went all in with no visual aids. I'd have to sit there and listen to myself. But I think I was right. It is so weird to me how, nowadays I can play a game and be like, these controls are fine, but Assassin's Creed is so bad to the point where I made a video back in the day, and I am talking about it right now again. At the end of the day, the controls are fine, they work, but here's the other thing. I think they're almost like stuck in that because you know how they've been they have these huge teams making the games. They're probably so isolated they feel like their controls work. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, no, that was that was crazy. That was a long time ago. I have a lot of other videos from back then, but that was back when it wasn't like, at least for me, there wasn't some sort of, the video wasn't regular. That was more of like, well, I can make this video with what I have. Right nowadays, it's like, get the right camera, you have production. It's crazy stuff. Let's see. Let's move on. What else? Okay, I already looked at that. There wasn't much interesting news. A new God of War side story project set in Greece is coming this year, it's claimed. It's not a remaster collection, but something new. So if they're making like a little like old school style God of War, that would be amazing. Curious. It would is this Jeff Grubb? That's interesting. Does he have a new Twitter? Oh, it's the Blue Sky thing. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I think that those God of War remaster rumors just jumped the gun a little bit. That stuff will happen closer to this. Okay, everyone keeps asking about this. So I've tried to find out more. There's still a Greek God of War thing coming out this year, but it's not a remaster collection. It's a new side story project. So what it could be is a side story project is a smaller game, is making an old school style God of War, which I feel like that would play into exactly what people are wanting Sony to be doing. I was never told about a remaster collection, but I asked a source about the rumors, and they told me that nothing God of War would happen at the State of Play, but something could show up at the anniversary. Sony has announced some of its plans to celebrate the 20th God of War franchise. Well, when was this? 22nd. Yeah, I feel like something has been announced since then. Let me search real quick. And maybe this is what it is. There's this tribute thing. Okay, let's click on it. Although that says on the 14th, so he would know. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we will get a new game. That would be cool. Like a cool. It would be cool if it was like an old school style God of War game, because that was my jam. Hey, Steven, what's up? Okay, so I'm gonna jump into Assassin's Creed Shadow surpasses. Oh yeah, this is kind of going back into some of this Assassin's Creed talk where it's actually selling exceptionally well. Now, I don't think it's the same as Valhalla, but from what I understand, Valhalla, it does. Wait, wow, all-time peak beats Valhalla. Wow. Oh, none of the other AC games for day one releases on Steam. That would make sense. Yeah, because I think with Valhalla, it came out, didn't it come out during or around COVID? So I think that got more sales in general. So here's the thing too that I'm really gathering from playing AC Shadows again, or AC again, like there at the end of the day, it is a mainstream game. So it's almost like I know by playing it, there's things that are happening that are like, well, this is because the majority of people that play this game are going to like this. Just simple things with talking to people, accepting missions. Like there's just little things again where sometimes it seems like it's old. They could have moved from, like when I was talking with the controls, but I think a lot of that has to do with Assassin's Creed is popular for what it is, so they can't move too far from that. So, I'd say it is a great game, but it is a great mainstream game. It is a good AAA mainstream title. If you're not a hardcore gamer, but you like to jump into an Assassin's Creed game, this is a fun game. If you are a super hardcore gamer like me and you really look into mechanics, this could get boring, but it has a lot of neat stuff there. And I think the other part of it too is because it's a AAA mainstream game, the places where it works, we can't get anywhere else. For instance, the graphics. The graphics in Assassin's Creed Shadows are amazing. Standing in the grass among trees, the draw distance, seeing the mountains, seeing everything move, animals all around. The game just has amazing graphics. And you won't get that from other releases. It's because Ubisoft has, the bloated employee count, budget, all that stuff. It could be we get to a time in the future where games like this don't exist anymore because they they're they're not supposed to. I don't think games like this should exist, but I'm glad they do. And anyway, that's a whole other topic. I feel like, but Valhalla was 2020. Okay, yeah, there we go. Um, What would a God of War spinoff even involve given he's murdered the yeah. Yeah, I know, right? I I don't know. And for me, it's one of those things where the story doesn't matter. Just have some other bad guys show up or something. I don't know. I just love that old school God of War combat. All right, so some releases for the remainder of the month. Let's see. We're on the 24th. There's probably some more that we're not seeing here. Adam Fall is on the 27th. The first Berserker Kazan is on the 20th. So both of these are super strong games that are coming out at the same time, and they are completely different games too, which that is really awesome, isn't it? Adam Fall is like a Sniper Elite meets Fallout, and the reviews sound interesting, especially when they said there's not many NPCs to talk to in the world, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because when you do come across an NPC, you are then excited because that usually means there's going to be some information, because how the game works is you know where to go based on finding something that says a name of a location. So if you talk to an NPC, most likely they're going to give more information, like more location stuff. And that just sounds interesting because that sounds more mechanics driven than narrative driven, even though it's kind of wrapped in a narrative sort of thing, if that makes sense. So I don't know. And then first Berserker Kazan, I played the demo. The demo's on Steam and it's awesome, and you can carry over your progress from the demo. It plays like a very competent Souls game. It really does. That said, because it plays like a really competent Souls game, I might pass. I mean, I played the demo. It was fun, but it's like I've done that a whole lot, so I'm fine with sort of moving on from that. So yeah, let's see. And then there's this Inzoi, which looks interesting. Uh, I I don't see myself playing it. I might dabble in the character creator. So this game, which the creative studio. Maybe that's what I was talking about. Recreate a character. So this is supposed to be every life becomes a story. Create your unique story by controlling and observing the lives of Zois. Customize characters and build houses so it's easy to use tools. So single player. So I think this is supposed to be more of a sandbox, like a Sims, but more realistic. So that could be cool. This isn't a multiplayer online game with avatars, but you make these Sims and they all have really good graphics. It'd be interesting to see what people say, because it could be, the game as it launches becomes a thing where it's not necessarily a video game, but a pastime. It could be where people that are into cozy games or into Sims, this is their thing. It might not be for people that want to do like, MMO stuff and all that. So, pretty interesting. And there's a demo for the studio. So if you want to check that out. Okay, moving on. Did I have anything else? I think I was scrolling down the gaming leaks and rumors to see if there's anything. Oh, Nintendo Direct on the 26th. Interesting. Yeah, because that's only a couple days. New Half-Life 3 is almost ready. Valve may be preparing to tease elements of a new Half-Life game, as HLX is already in optimization and upscaling phase. A method to check the names of hidden groups in Valve's internal system has been discovered, revealing group names, HLX, audio artists. Recent findings include console commands related to optimization, such as adjusting NPC behavior and AI load, which could indicate a game with complex NPC interactions. New lines of code also mention features like dynamic navigation mesh, deformable props, and improved dynamic hair systems, which could be related to the new Half-Life game. A zombie gorilla hinted at in the dialogue in Half-Life Alyx has appeared in the Source 2 files with tentacle particles, and his purpose is still unclear. Okay. It's interesting how much information there happens to be of Half-Life 3, yet I don't think any official mention has come of it. Half-Life 3 is expected to be the final game in Gordon's adventure with a proper ending and no cliffhanger, although spin-offs in the Half-Life universe may be possible in the future. That's pretty cool. So Half-Life 2, I felt it was cool physics-wise, but then it just kind of got boring. I beat it, but not the DLC, the missions or whatever, the chapters. I loved the first Half-Life, though. I remember that came out. Was it 98, 99? I forget. It was that time, still in school. I remember, like, it was just amazing to play a game like Half-Life. And then the DLC came out, or back then the expansion pack, Opposing Force, made by Gearbox, where at the time, Gearbox was, okay, they're a cool studio. And I think from that point on is when first-person shooters changed. Call of Duty helped kind of make the controls be a thing. But anyway, I don't know how much we need a Half-Life 3. I find it interesting that this is a time for them to release it. I wonder if they saw this is the best time to release it. So hear me out. Like, because of COVID, I still think we're feeling the reverberations of what that caused, because games take years to develop. So I think by now there's so many games that probably got canceled that started development during COVID, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, the economy's changed, the market's changed, we need to change everything. And then it could be that they were working on Half-Life 3 the whole time, but Valve isn't used to just releasing things unless they are new or innovative. And we had a Half-Life Alyx, which I didn't beat it. I played it, I think it was a lot last year after I got the MetaQuest. It's fun, but the work it involves to put on the headset, get everything ready to then play it, it's like I would just rather jump on my mouse and keyboard and play. It's just easier controls. Adding the cumbersome nature of putting on the headset and getting everything on to just do a first-person shooter, and it's cool that you have the full control in a 3D space. Don't get me wrong, that's cool. But then all I'm doing is replicating a first-person shooter. And I don't know if that's why then I wasn't interested in finishing it, because I just got bored, or that's just a VR thing, or that's just a personal thing. But anyway, so then we get to Half-Life 3. I feel like I have no expectations for it, because I don't know anything they could be doing graphically, technology-wise, that could change things while still playing games in the traditional sense, where it's not VR or AR. You're on your keyboard, you're on your console, unless it's just a really cool, refined story. For instance, look at was it Titanfall 2 that had the really good, was that the game that had the really good first-person story? it's almost like you could take gameplay that is kind of samey that we're kind of used to, but some way build out a fun experience that that makes it enjoyable. Because yeah, I think it was that campaign alone was just a lot of fun. So Half-Life 3, we need to do something like that. Is it going to do it where it just has a very fun adventure that you're jumping into again, or are they going to revolutionize an aspect of gaming? That's going to be the big question. And I don't know if they'll do any of that. But that just about does it for today's episode. Not too much to say except that look, Assassin's Creed Shadows is fun. People are having fun with it, and that's just kind of, if we look back at all of the what people would call the grifting, where it's influencers, content creators that are purposely making content to talk negatively about Assassin's Creed in terms of how it's bad for the industry, making up things, how it's doing, like all of that fluff that happened up until release was just noise and a waste of our time. Look, I feel it's perfectly fine to criticize something and complain about something, but if there is something there that can be solved, but if there's not something there that can be solved, it's just kind of like that outrage culture. And I'm kind of just glad Assassin's Creed turned out to be that outrage culture isn't, I guess, the in the atmosphere around the Assassin's Creed outrage culture was not real. That was not a real thing. That was a human induced psychological state that just annoyed the heck out of most people that just want a video game news, you know? So, all right, guys, I'm gonna head out. That was a lot of fun. I'll be back tomorrow with some more news. Maybe I don't know what new games are gonna be. I'm gonna be playing between now and Adamfall, which is actually around the corner. Just some Assassin's Creed. So until next time, be good all.